I remember this one time I'm talking to a friend, and he said to me, "I can't believe that you were depressed because you're always smiling." So for the rest of that day, I was like, I can't believe he said that. Then I was like, he's right. I was always smiling. My hair was always done. My outfits were always cute. That's just who I was. So when depression came in college, I wasn't able to identify what was going on. All I knew was that when I left my house, I would never show what was going on, and that hurt me more than I could imagine. So let me tell you a quick story. I come from a huge family, and I'm the youngest, and I was the first to go out of state for college. So I found myself calling my mom all the time because I was so used to being with her. So one day I'm on the phone with my mom when my sister at home with her jokingly says on the phone, "You're always on the phone with mom, get a life." I remember hanging up the phone and I was beyond devastated. I cried my eyes out. And this small joke, this ha-ha moment, broke my heart because it emphasized the pain that no one knew I felt. And that was the beginning of me learning that I had to ask for help. And so I want to share with you all today how asking for help can free you from depression. Now, I had struggled and suffered and really wasn't that good with vulnerability my entire life. And like I said, I came from a huge household. So I learned how to put on a front so I didn't seem like a punk, and that unhealthy habit of repressing my emotions and trying to be strong all the time transferred into my adulthood. And I was going through it during college, but junior year was like the worst year by far. I lost my financial aid, and I remember running all over campus trying to figure out a way I could stay in school. And if that wasn't enough, I worked the worst job at a Nordstrom Rack store in the shoe department. And I promise you guys, if one more person were to drop a shoe in front of me, it was gonna be a fight. So one day, in the name of self-care, I finished my shift, went on home, and blocked them on my phone, and never went back. But who can pay rent with no job? So there I was, jobless, schoolless, and hopeless. Not only did I have to move back home, I had to take a semester off and even transfer schools. And when I was first at home, I didn't have a job, so all I would hear was, "When are you gonna get a job? When are you gonna get a job?" And all I wanted to say was, "When are you gonna leave me alone?" And I hated running into people who barely knew me because the only question they had to ask was, "How's school going?" And all I wanted to say was, "Mind your business." Let's just say I wasn't the nicest girl back then. But one day, I decided to ask myself, what if I said something? Would I see a change? So after years of being this independent and strong person, the 4 words I had been lying about time after time finally poured out. I am not okay. And what a relief it is when the thing that scares you the most is the same thing that can save you. Now, I didn't just wake up with all the courage in the world to show someone my dark side, but I took the proper steps necessary for me. And I started with these small words that I like to call conversation starters. 3 words. I am sad. 3 words. I am depressed. 4 words. I am not okay. And I started with these small words not because I knew what would come afterwards, no pun intended, but because they allowed me to acknowledge my situation and to spark a conversation. Now, I won't tell you to go screaming from the rooftops that you're suffering from depression and anxiety, because you have to understand that not everybody cares. But once you lock in the right people, the ones who will listen to your heart and your pain, who won't dismiss your emotions and tell you to get over it, the ones who can bring you back down during an anxiety attack because you weren't sure how you did at that test at school or that project at work is really challenging you, and you're struggling to maintain a good relationship with your friends because you can barely keep your head on straight. The people who know you're suffering but won't treat you like a dying patient. Once you lock in the right people, the road can only get brighter. And in addition to these conversation starters, I want to share a list of small lifestyle changes that'll make a big difference. Number one, I started waking up with a positive and healthy intention to live just that, a positive and healthy life. And if that meant waking up and listening to Return of the Mac for the 5th day in a row, I was determined to start my day with high energy. Number two, I wrote myself 1,000,001 Post-it notes all over my bathroom and my bedroom because sometimes you just need a reminder. They said, let's go, champ. You can do this. You're amazing. And number three, and probably the favorite on my list, was throwing myself a personal dance party. And this wasn't the cute, oh, he's watching me. No, this was I'm getting my groove on, I'm dancing any type I need to dance to make myself feel good. And number three, in addition to getting my groove on, I was going to the gym. And it felt like as I'm running or jogging and sweating and cramping, I was shaking loose all that toxic energy from that day, that week, or that month. And number four, on those days where I felt like nothing was working, I leaned on my support system. I would call the people in my phone who I knew would inspire and uplift me, tell me that they love me and that I'm working hard and they're proud of me, because sometimes you just need to hear something that you can't give yourself. And that's why it's so important to ask for help in order to free yourself from depression, because you can't do it alone. I allow people I trusted to see me cry, because when you show your emotional capacity, you learn that you're not alone in this roller coaster called life. I think back to a time where I wouldn't get a tear out until it was the mid-season breakup that triggered everything in me while I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, season 11, episode 8, and I couldn't find enough tissues to catch all my tears, because my dramatic shows were the only escape I had for the repressed life I lived day in and day out. My silence kept me as a prisoner in my own body, while the whole time I had the key and didn't even realize. Because when you're depressed, you have a bad habit of being sad, and then feeling sad that you are sad, and then dwelling in your sadness by listening to sad songs, and watching sad movies, and keeping the lights dark and the shades drawn. And after a while, you've built yourself into this dark abyss that feels comfortable. But if you ask for help, and know that even if it's just one person who can pull you out of the darkness before it gets too bad, then you are hopeful. And whether you're talking to a parent, a sibling, a friend, a doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, religious leader, or someone who's just been there and done that, know that you're never alone and you never have to be. And to the supportive party, I challenge you to listen, really listen. Instead of just waiting for your turn to speak, I challenge you to check up on your friends more than weekend plans, because mental checkups are a form of love that are not present enough in today's relationships, platonic or not. I challenge you to be the shoulder that your loved one needs to lean on, because being depressed is like being at the bottom of the cave, and you can see the light at the top, but you have no idea how to reach it. And to the parents, I challenge you to stop dismissing the feelings and actions of your children by simply signing off the distance and the mood swings of, oh, they're just a teenager. No, your children live a whole life in their phones and in their schools that you will never know about unless you take the time to understand who they are as children and people, instead of just your 16-year-old daughter who always has an attitude and your 18-year-old son who's constantly angry. And to the Black community, I challenge you to stop putting your mental health at the bottom of the list. Because while I know we have so much more to worry about, you have to understand that a healthy mind equals a healthy life. So open up your mouth. To the people that are suffering, ask for help. To the people that are suffering, don't forget to celebrate the small victories. Because last week you could barely get out of bed, but this week you were strong enough to call your pick-me-up person when you felt yourself sinking. Understand that it takes all the courage in the world to show someone who you really are. It starts with 3 words. I am sad. 3 words. I am depressed. 4 words. I am not okay. And on those days where you're feeling really brave, 4 words: I need your help. Thank you.